housing is a problem for a lot of people, but perhaps there's a solution. I'm joined by Susan Young, who's going to tell me about co-housing. So, tell me what co-housing is.
Co-housing is a way of coming together to create private units for families and individuals, but to have shared common space as well. So our vision is in Kingston to create 20 to 30 private units, and then to share indoor and outdoor space. So a common large kitchen, a common workshop space, music room, meeting rooms, those kinds of things.
So the units themselves wouldn't have a kitchen?
Absolutely they would. Everyone's unit is a standalone. Usually a little bit smaller. We're really looking for a smaller footprint as well as environmental sustainability. There's 22 co-housing projects in Canada, and there's a number of them still forming. BC's way ahead of us on this. They're a decade ahead of us, but Ontario's starting to catch up.
I'm just trying to get my head around this. So how is this different than a high-rise that has a pool and has a meeting rooms and party rooms and patio with a barbecue? I'm not quite understanding what the difference is.
Well, it's similar, except we all buy in.
Oh.
So we purchase our own units, and then we contribute it to the cost of the shared space, and we all eat together, often once or twice a week. We might say, let's all make pickles, and we have a shared garden space. We might all have like a music space that we share. So there's a form of intentional community and coming together with a shared vision and focus.
Now, do you own these units or rent them?
You own the units,
okay,
and you own the shared space. So it's set up similar to condo legislation. We might be able to manage a couple of affordable housing units, which is our hope, but it depends on how the finances play out.
Right. They used to be at about the same time that condos became a thing. There was also co-op housing, like you buy into a cooperative where you buy a share instead of buying your unit outright, and then what you're selling is not your unit necessarily, but your share. And I'm not sure what the legalities and all, is this something like that?
It's different than co-op housing. And we've only been up and running about 9 months now. And so we're using a form of governance called sociocracy, which is unique to co-housing.
Oh.
And it's somewhere between consensus and democracy. So we're all getting trained in that, and then we're sort of, when we have our meetings, we use this method of engaging. So we now have broken into working circles. So at this point we have 3 working circles, and one of them is financial and legal. I'm the leader of the marketing and membership, thus I'm out here talking to you. Financial and legal is looking at what's the best way to purchase, what's the best way to set ourselves up legally. We've been, that grant with Queen's University Legal Department, you know, that they set up where we went through an application, we got accepted, so we're looking at what are our options, what's the best way for us to set up in terms of those kinds of questions.
Okay, so now the price of the unit, would it be less than buying a condominium?
Co-housing isn't cheaper than the regular housing market. Our vision is to create a multi-generational, inclusive, diverse 20 to 30 units of people coming together and sharing a vision of how they want to live together in community. But if we do a new build, it's not going to be any cheaper than if you were to buy a new house, except we're looking at smaller footprints, more environmental, and then we contribute to the shared space. So there's one outside of Halifax called Treehouse Village that's just getting ready to move in. Shortly, they've spent 5 years. So our vision is to be up and moved in by 2028. So Treehouse Village has been working for 6 or 7 years, and they've got, I think they've got 34 units available from bachelor or studio up to 2 bedrooms.
And that's what you're looking at as well, is
probably. Yeah, we really want to expand to include more multi-generational. We have a lot of folks my age who have more equity, more time to build at the start, but we really would love to see multi-generational younger folks coming in with children who maybe need more space.
Okay, now, what happens if I move in, I buy one of these and so on, but I'm kind of a loner and I'm a bit of a recluse, and I just say, you know, don't bother me. You know, I just want to stay here. I want to cook my own meals in my own little kitchen. I'm really not interested in making pickles. I'm just not. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Well, we've created a membership criteria to come on board Kingston Co-Housing. So people have an opportunity. We have an info session next Wednesday, January 25th at 7 p.m. So anyone who wants to join that, feel free to email kingstoncohousing@gmail.com. So what we do, by the time we get to the point where we're going to buy, we have 98 interested members from Kingston, citizens from Kingston, just through word of mouth, that are really interested in saying, what is co-housing? Can I join? So someone who's an introverted reclusive who doesn't want to share anything, probably co-housing isn't for them.
Okay.
Not that we can't spend time in solitude and on our own, for sure. I need my own space, absolutely. Right. But there will be some sharing needed because it's an intentional community of sorts. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And there's going to be conflicts. I mean, to say, oh no, there's no politics. There's no. Yeah, I know. Right. We've both been around long enough to know that is not how things work. So, what happens with conflict resolution? I've got friends who live in condos, and it seems like, oh, it just never stops. And so, how do you deal with something like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question because nonviolent conflict resolution is the structure that we're looking at to pull into place when there is conflict, because there will be conflict. We met with a architect from Guelph who recently completed co-housing there. I think it's called Windsong, 7 units, and David McCauley is the name of that architect, and he and others have created what they call bumpable moments, so for people inside of co-housing to be able to bump up against each other. So it's designed differently than your average condo where you're kind of separate, so there's a much more inclusive space with community at the center. Part of the commitment of Kingston Co-Housing members will be to learn and use sociocracy as a way of interacting at meetings. It's quite a remarkable thing, and I've done a lot of training as a facilitator, but boy, this sociocracy is quite remarkable. And part of that will be nonviolent communication as a structure that sociocracy supports in how you bring up an issue that you have conflict with someone else. So of course there's going to be conflict when you've got 20 to 30 families and people living together. So we're working on a structure that hopefully works for everyone. I hope you will come back and keep me updated on what's going on, because this is so interesting and so needed, and I can just imagine that this is going to be so successful. So please come back again. Thanks, Donna. We're very excited. I bet you are. Yeah, and you should be. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for coming in today. Thank you.